1, 2, 3, 4.
As is often said down in Aggie land, from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. From the inside looking out, you can't explain it. As a student at Texas A&M, I can confirm that this is true. In an article in the magazine, the Texas Monthly, they said that the 1947 A&M freshman handbook described the bonfire as symbolizing two things. First, the burning desire to beat the football team from the University of Texas, and second, the undying flame of love that every loyal Aggie holds in his heart for his school. As you can see, bonfire meant so much more to Texas A&M students than just a burning pile of logs. First, I'm going to talk about the early history of bonfire. Second, I'm going to talk about the process of the build and what it meant to Aggies everywhere. Third, I'm going to talk about the tragic collapse in 1999 and what happened in the aftermath of the event. By the end of my presentation, I hope that you'll understand a little bit of the Aggie spirit. Now first, to understand bonfire, we must talk about its history. According to Trey Reeves, a student journalist for the Texas A&M school paper, The Battalion, the first bonfire was built in 1907 to celebrate a huge football victory over the University of Tulane. In 1909, the bonfire was moved to the Texas A&M University campus. It continued every single year. And in 1935, a group of overzealous students went out into the local community and tore down a local farmer's barn to use the barn as scrap and wood for the fire. After the farmer complained, the university was forced to put some oversight into the process. The university soon required that the students use logs to build the stack. This required a huge organization, and it became a months-long process. In the 2020 documentary, Buried by Bonfire, that aired on July 23, 2016, survivors of the 1999 collapse described the process of building the stack. Students from each dorm would be in crews. Every weekend, the crews would wake up at 4 a.m. and go out into the woods and manually cut down trees by hand. They would transport the logs to the A&M campus and build them and stack it in a huge wedding cake formation that looked like this. The stack would be lit the day before the Thanksgiving game every single year, except for 2 years. 2 years that it was not lit was 1963, after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and in 1999, after the tragic collapse. On November 18, 1999, at 2:42 a.m., the stack collapsed, killing 12 students and injuring 27 others. According to a May 3, 2000 article in the New York Times, the stack collapsed because the metal wiring around the first layer was not strong enough to hold back the pressure of all the logs above it. After the 5,000 logs fell and hurt all the students, there were several lawsuits filed against the university. As a result of these lawsuits, the bonfire had to be canceled. 5 years after the collapse, a memorial was built on the site of the last bonfire. Each year on November 18th at 2:42 a.m., thousands of Aggies gather around the site to pay their respects to the 12 Aggies who lost their lives. As you can see, although the bonfire no longer stands, these Aggies will never be forgotten as long as A&M is still around. Now, I hope that you now understand a little bit more about bonfire. First, I talked about the history of bonfire. Second, I explained the organization and the process of the build. Lastly, I talked about the 1999 collapse and what it meant to the Texas A&M community. As you can see, although bonfire no longer stands, it still burns in the hearts of Aggies everywhere.
Wave.
Yeah.